Hello, my wonderful friends. If you're over 60 or maybe approaching that golden milestone, I want to start by saying this: you are not past your prime. You are entering a new chapter of life where wisdom, experience, and self-care can make every single day richer than the one before. Welcome back to our channel, where we help you protect your health, rediscover your strength, and move through life with confidence. If you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because what I'm about to share could completely change the way you think about exercise after 60. Now let me ask you a question that might surprise you. What if the simple walking routine you've been doing faithfully for years isn't giving you the full benefits you deserve? Don't get me wrong, walking is wonderful. It's calming, it gets you outside, it connects you with the world. But here's what the latest science and decades of medical experience is showing us. There are smarter, more powerful ways to move your body that actually reverse aging from the inside out. And they take less time than your usual walk. I remember one of my patients, Mrs. Jensen, a 67-year-old retired teacher who used to walk every morning around her neighborhood. She'd log nearly 5,000 steps a day, rain or shine. But one day, she came into my office and said, "Doctor, I'm doing everything right. Why do I still feel weaker every year?" That question haunted me until I discovered a new study that truly opened my eyes. Researchers at the University of Copenhagen followed over 8,000 adults aged 60 and above for 5 years. They found that people who replaced their usual walking routines with just 5 specific exercises had extraordinary results. They cut their risk of falling by 73%, boosted their strength by nearly 90%, and even improved their blood pressure, bone density, and energy levels, all while spending less time exercising than before. When I told Mrs. Jensen about this, she raised her eyebrows and said, "You're telling me I could exercise less, feel stronger, and look younger?" Exactly that. So, she gave it a try. Within 3 months, her posture straightened, her energy soared, and for the first time in years, she said, "I feel like I'm walking on air." That's when I realized this wasn't just a fitness routine. It was a reawakening, a way for older adults to reclaim their vitality and independence. And the first exercise in this life-changing list is so simple that almost anyone can start today, right where you are. Let's start with what scientists call the wall push-up with hold. Now, don't let the name fool you. This isn't some gym class push-up meant to impress anyone. It's about building what I like to call functional strength, the kind that helps you open jars, carry groceries, or steady yourself when you start to lose balance. After 60, we naturally lose about 3% of our muscle mass every year unless we do something about it. That means even small tasks start feeling heavier, and balance becomes less reliable. But this little exercise? It's a miracle in disguise. Here's how it works. Stand about arm's length from a wall, feet shoulder-width apart, and place your palms flat on the wall at chest height. Slowly lean in until your nose almost touches the wall. Pause for 3 to 5 seconds, then push back gently. That pause, that little moment of stillness, is where the magic happens. It keeps your muscles under tension, forcing them to rebuild and strengthen. I remember watching one of my older clients, Robert, an 82-year-old who had trouble catching himself when he tripped. He used to say, "My body doesn't react fast enough anymore." But after 8 weeks of doing wall push-ups with holds 3 times a week, something amazing happened. One day, he stumbled on a cracked sidewalk, and instead of falling, he instinctively steadied himself with one strong push of his arm. He came into my clinic the next week grinning like a kid. "Doc," he said, "I didn't hit the ground this time." That's the quiet victory of this movement. It doesn't just build strength, it restores confidence. You begin to trust your body again. And when you trust your body, everything changes. You walk taller, move smoother, and feel more capable with every step. But that's only the beginning. The second exercise in this transformation journey might seem simple too, until you try it. It's called the seated leg lift with resistance. You can do it right from your chair while watching TV or reading. Sit upright, Lift one leg slowly until it's parallel to the floor, hold for 2 seconds, and lower it without letting your foot touch the ground. Alternate legs. Sounds easy, right? But here's what's happening under the surface. Your thighs, hips, and core are working together in perfect harmony. These muscles are what keep you stable when climbing stairs or standing up from a chair. And guess what? Walking doesn't strengthen them enough. When I introduced this to my community class, one woman named Evelyn, who was 70 and recovering from knee surgery, was skeptical. "Sitting and lifting my legs won't change much," she said. But after 6 weeks, she told me something that nearly brought me to tears. "Yesterday I climbed the stairs without holding the railing," she said softly. "It's the first time in years." Moments like that are why I do this. Because these exercises aren't about chasing youth, they're about reclaiming freedom. Each small victory adds up until one day you realize you can do things again that you thought were lost forever. Now here's the beautiful truth, it's never too late. I've seen people in their 70s, 80s, even 90s regain muscle, improve balance, and restore circulation using just these movements. Science supports it, and real people prove it every single day. Before we move to the next exercises, I want you to remember this. Consistency matters more than intensity. You don't need to push yourself to exhaustion. You need to show up every day with love and patience for your body. Because every repetition is a vote for the life you want to live 10 years from now. And if you've been nodding along or maybe feeling a spark of hope right now, do me a favor, tap that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone you care about. The next part of this series will take you deeper into the exercises that rewire your balance, improve your circulation, and even boost your brain health. You don't want to miss it. The power of balance and brain connection. After 60. Welcome back, my amazing friends. If you're watching this, it means you've already taken the first step toward a stronger, more confident you. And I'm proud of you. Seriously, in a world where so many people slow down and give up after 60, you're doing the opposite. You're choosing to move, to grow, and to believe that your best years aren't behind you, they're right here, waiting to be lived. Now, in the first part of our journey, we focused on 2 foundational exercises, the wall push-up with hold and the seated leg lift with resistance. These moves awaken your muscles and strengthen the framework that supports every step you take. But today, we're going even deeper. Because real health after 60 isn't just about muscles, it's about connection. The connection between your body and your brain, between your movements and your confidence, between your will to stay independent and your ability to trust your body to support you. I want to tell you a story that changed how I view balance training forever. A few years ago, I met a woman named Clara. She was 74, soft-spoken, and always walked with a cautious shuffle, eyes fixed on the floor. When she came to one of my wellness workshops, I asked her what she feared most. She said, falling. Because one fall could mean the end of my independence. That answer stayed with me. Fear of falling is one of the most powerful and silent struggles that older adults face. It limits movement, shrinks confidence, and sometimes even leads to isolation. But here's the truth. Your balance isn't lost forever. It can be trained, strengthened, and even rebuilt. That's where the standing heel raise with balance challenge comes in the third exercise on our list. It looks simple, but it works like a secret weapon for your legs, circulation, and even your brain. Stand behind a sturdy chair, rise slowly onto your toes, hold for 3 seconds while keeping your gaze straight ahead, and then lower back down with control. That's it. But that little rise and fall is more powerful than most people imagine. The National Institute on Aging published a study showing that strong calf muscles are one of the best predictors of independence after 60. Why? Because your calves act like a second heart, pumping blood back up through your body. Weak calves mean slower circulation, colder feet, and higher risks of swelling or clots. But strong calves? They mean stability, energy, and freedom. Now, let's go back to Clara. When she started, she could barely lift her heels half an inch off the floor. Her hands gripped the back of her chair tightly, and she looked terrified. But we started small 5 slow lifts, 3 times a week. After 2 weeks, she began to smile during our sessions. "I can feel my legs again," she laughed. After a month, she no longer needed the chair. And after 2 months, she said something that gave me goosebumps. "I danced with my grandson at his birthday party." Do you see what that means? She didn't just build balance, she rebuilt her joy. That's what these exercises do. They don't just strengthen your body, they give you back the life moments that truly matter. The balance challenge part of this exercise trains something called your vestibular system, the tiny sensors in your inner ear that control equilibrium. As we age, this system becomes less responsive, which is why even small stumbles can throw us off balance. By challenging it through controlled movements, you're teaching your brain to react faster, steadier, and smarter. In fact, research shows that people over 60 who do heel raises with a balance challenge 3 times a week can cut their fall risk by more than half in just 2 months. Now, I want to take you into the next powerful exercise, modified squats to chair. When people hear the word squat, they often picture something too demanding or painful for older knees. But this version isn't about pushing limits, it's about rebuilding your natural movement pattern. Because think about it, how many times a day do you sit and stand? From a chair, a bed, or even a car seat? That's the sit-to-stand motion, and it's one of the first things we lose with age. But it's also one of the most critical for independence. I once worked with a man named Walter, age 79, who hadn't been able to get up from his recliner without help for nearly 2 years. When we started training, he was frustrated, even embarrassed. "Doc," he said, "I feel like my body forgot how to move." But we started with something simple, just lowering himself toward a chair slowly, stopping before fully sitting and standing back up. 3 seconds down, 2 seconds up. The first time he completed 5 reps, he was panting but smiling. 2 weeks later, he was doing 10. And after 6 weeks, he stood from his chair with no arms, no help, no hesitation. The first thing he did was call his daughter. "I can stand up by myself again," he said proudly. Moments like that remind me exercise isn't punishment. It's empowerment. Modified squats to chair strengthen your legs, glutes, back, and even your brain. Why the brain? Because studies show that movements like squatting stimulate the motor cortex, the part of your brain responsible for coordination and mobility. You're not just training muscles, you're training neurons. You're literally rebuilding your brain's connection to your body. As you lower yourself, imagine you're gently closing a car door with your hips. That hip hinge keeps your knees safe and engages your glutes, one of the most important muscle groups for mobility. Don't worry if you can't go very low at first. What matters is control. Every slow, steady repetition tells your body, "I am strong, I am capable, and I'm getting better." In a world that often associates aging with decline, this exercise becomes a quiet rebellion proof that progress never stops, no matter your age. And remember, improvement isn't measured by perfection. It's measured by consistency. Maybe today you can barely lower yourself halfway. That's okay. Because if you keep showing up, in 2 weeks, you'll notice it feels easier. In 4 weeks, you'll feel steadier. And in 6 weeks, you'll feel something you might not have felt in years' independence. Now, before we move to the final, most powerful exercise in part 3, let's take a moment to reflect. These movements, wall push-ups, leg lifts, heel raises, and squats aren't random. Together, they're forming a bridge back to vitality. Each one strengthens a different part of your foundation: arms, legs, balance, and confidence. You're not just exercising, you're restoring communication between your body and your mind. And here's what's truly inspiring. Science shows that people who train their balance and strength in their 60s and 70s experience measurable improvements in brain function. MRI scans reveal increased gray matter, meaning their brains are literally growing stronger, just like their bodies. Isn't that incredible? That's the message I want to leave you with today. You are not too old to rebuild, to learn, or to grow. Your body remembers what it's capable of, it just needs you to remind it. So, my friends, if this message speaks to you, please tap like. Leave a comment telling me your age and where you're watching from, and of course, subscribe so you don't miss the final part. Because in part 3, we'll explore the most extraordinary exercise of them all, the one that connects body, mind, and longevity in a way that truly rewrites the story of aging. The longevity move that reconnects you with life. You've made it here, and that says something powerful about you, because while most people stop when things get hard, you kept going. You showed up, you listened, you moved, and somewhere along this journey, something inside you began to awaken again, that quiet voice saying, "I'm still here. I still matter." So far, we've rebuilt your strength, balance, and coordination. But now we turn to something deeper connection. The connection between your breath, your movement, and your inner peace. Because after 60, true health isn't just about living longer, it's about living better. I'd like to introduce you to one of my favorite exercises for longevity. The seated mindful march, a gentle rhythmic movement that strengthens your core, improves blood flow to the brain, and anchors your body in calm focus. It looks simple, but don't let that fool you. It's like meditation in motion. Here's how it works. Sit tall in a sturdy chair, feet flat on the ground. Lift one knee slowly, then lower it as you exhale. Switch sides. As your legs move, keep your shoulders relaxed, eyes soft, and breath steady. Do this for 1 minute. Then rest, breathe, and repeat. What makes this exercise powerful isn't just the physical movement, it's the rhythm. The body moves, the mind follows, and the heart settles. Studies show that rhythmic leg movements paired with mindful breathing can increase cerebral blood flow by up to 20%, helping to improve memory and focus. But I want to tell you a story that captures what this really means. A few years ago, I worked with a retired school teacher named Eleanor. She was 82, with kind eyes, but a constant look of fatigue. She told me she'd lost her sense of purpose since retiring. "I used to feel alive in the classroom," she said. "Now I just sit and wait for the days to pass." When we started the seated mindful march, she laughed a little. "This feels too easy," she said. But a few minutes in, her breathing softened, and her eyes began to glow again. After a week of practice, she said something that I'll never forget. "It's strange. When I do this, I don't just feel my legs moving, I feel my heart remembering how to live." That's what this exercise does. It brings you back to yourself. It reconnects the physical with the emotional, the strength with the serenity. Every gentle march tells your body, "I am alive. I am still growing. I am still me." And there's science behind this feeling. A 2023 study from Harvard found that older adults who practice mindful movement, especially gentle rhythmic exercises like seated marches, show lower levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, and higher levels of dopamine, the motivation chemical. In simple terms, this means less anxiety, better mood, and stronger brain-body coordination. But beyond the science, it's the stories that matter. I remember one morning when Eleanor joined our class on Zoom. She had music playing softly in the background, a song from her youth. She began doing her mindful marches to the rhythm, smiling and swaying slightly with each lift. At that moment, she wasn't exercising. She was living again. That's the secret most fitness programs miss. Exercise after 60 isn't just about surviving. It's about reawakening joy, the feeling of being alive in your own skin. And when you combine movement with mindfulness, the body doesn't just get stronger, it heals from the inside out. So how do you make this part of your daily routine? Here's what I recommend, something I call the 5-minute morning revival. Every morning, before checking your phone or turning on the news, take 5 minutes to center yourself with these 5 steps. 1. 2 deep breaths to remind your lungs they still expand beautifully. 2. 10 wall push-ups to wake up your arms and shoulders. 3. 10 heel raises to get your blood moving. 4. 5 modified squats to chair to remind your legs they're capable. 5. 1 minute of seated mindful marching to connect it all together. That's it. 5 minutes. And yet those 5 minutes could change the entire tone of your day, even your life. When I see people who practice this routine daily, something magical happens. They stand taller, smile easier, and move with quiet confidence. Their minds feel clearer, their hearts lighter. It's like watching someone rediscover their light after years of dimness. And that's when I always tell them, this isn't the end of aging. This is the art of aging well. Because here's the truth, aging isn't a disease. It's a privilege. Every wrinkle, every gray hair, every story your body carries is proof that you've lived, loved, and survived. The goal isn't to be young again, it's to be vibrantly alive at every age. And that's why these 5 exercises approved by surgeons, tested by science, and lived by real people are so much more than movements. They're messages of hope. They whisper to your body, you still have strength. They whisper to your heart, you still have joy. They whisper to your mind, you still have time. Life lesson, aging with purpose. Let's end with this. We spend so much of our lives fearing time, fearing what we lose as the years pass. But what if we started seeing aging differently? Not as decline, but as refinement. Like a tree that grows deeper roots with every storm, or a river that flows smoother after carving its way through stone. Your 60s, 70s, and even 80s aren't the end of your story. They're the chapter where wisdom meets strength. The part where you finally realize that your worth has nothing to do with how fast you move, but with how deeply you live. So, my dear friends, keep moving not just for your body, but for your soul. Walk with grace, lift with pride, breathe with intention. And remember, every time your heart beats, it's saying, you are still alive, you are still becoming. If this message touched your heart, I invite you to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, maybe a parent, a friend, or even yourself, 10 years from now. Because health after 60 isn't about saying goodbye to youth, it's about saying hello to the strongest, calmest, most beautiful version of yourself.